hope you've had a good weekend. Time now to catch up on a quick roundup of stories of the week. My name is Ifwakwa Harrison, and coming up, why and how to keep your books. But before that, students of the Ekropon School of the Blind uneasy with feeding grants still not paid for the new academic term. Saturday, 27th September was World Tourism Day. What you think Ghana could be doing better? And environmentalists disappointed by world leaders' commitment to climate change in the world is talking about. These stories and more coming up. Please stay with us. Supported by
Cowbell with Vitarid.
Remember, you can always catch up with us on social media. We are on facebook.com/NewsGenerationGH or on Twitter @NewsGenGH. Now, government's delay in releasing money to special schools is seriously affecting these institutions. The Ekropon School for the Blind is one of such schools suffering due to lack of funds. Headmistress of the school says the delay in funds for feeding may affect the education of the blind students.
The Ekropon School for the Blind was established over 50 years ago. It houses, feeds and educates over 400 visually impaired persons. The school, which is run with special grants allocated by government and other benevolent organizations, is faced with countless financial, infrastructural, logistic and personnel challenges. The delay in the release of these funds by government is badly affecting operations.
Actually, we are yet to know, because initially first it was 2 cedis 20 pesos, but we call for increment. So we are yet to know the new rates that will be given. It's a challenge. We know what is happening, we know our problems, and we know that under no circumstance will the grants come before reopening, no.
She further appealed to government to ensure that the school fencing project is completed to end the spate of robbery at the premises.
Government started it, right? It has been given to contract. We are not yet seeing the contractor. And people are using the place as a thoroughfare, which is posing a security threat. In less than 1 year, we have experienced 4 burglary cases on the compound. You can imagine school like School for the Blind, people burglary.
The headmistress encouraged parents not to abandon their children in school, but visit them from time to time and supports them with their basic needs.
Parents should be responsible, because most of the parents are not. They just bring the children to school, they don't even visit. Petty need that they have to provide, they don't. At least government is doing its best, providing free education for special school for children with disabilities in Ghana. So you, the parent, it's up to you at least to provide the basic need of the child, because after all, your sighted children at home, you care for them. So you should do the same. But they see this, some of them see the special schools as a dumping ground. So that's an attitude they have to think of it.
Matilda Pamaga for Joy News.
And tell us what you think about this issue on our Facebook wall. You know where to go. Now, do you like to travel and discover new places? Well, this year's World Tourism Day paid special attention to the role tourism plays in developing communities. So, is Ghana doing well in promoting domestic tourism? What about helping tourist towns and villages with development? Adelaide had a discussion with some pupils of Little Saints Academy in Accra.
Every September 27 is World Tourism Day. It is a day set aside by the United Nations to celebrate tourism or to promote tourism. This year, the theme for the day is tourism and community development. I'm here with some pupils from Little Saints Academy in Accra, and we are going to have an interesting discussion about this issue. So first, talking about tourism, have we as a nation done our best to promote our tourism sites?
In my opinion, I would say they've not really done to their expectation, because if we search through this country, most of the people in this country are not well educated in tourism, particularly the adults. If you ask any adults like where Kakum National Park is, they will not really tell you which region it is found or where it is really situated. situated in. So I think if the media or the press is to advertise many tourist sites in this country, it's going to really help the country move forward in tourist sector.
I also think that magazines and brochures should be made available at Ghana's embassies and entry points so that any tourist who is entering the country can pick up one of these and can know the various tourist sites we have in Ghana.
Tourism is meant for fun, to have excitement, and to learn new things that we've also not come by. So I think if the awareness is created in the people and are educated on the things that we can benefit from these tourist sites, is going to help promote it.
So what do you think we can do to generate more money from these tourism sites that we have?
If the government is to set toll booths at the entrance of every tourist site, it's really going to generate money for the country in the tourist sector.
That's nice. And have we really sold our tourism sites in the outside world?
I don't think so, because Ghana now is competing with other countries like Guinea, Senegal, Kenya for tourist sites because they have other tourist sites which are very popular. So I think if the government do whatever it is within their power to broadcast our tourist sites abroad to really help us.
So this is a question. Which tourism sites in Ghana have you visited?
I have visited the Botifos. From my observation, the community wasn't very developed like the way Accra is really developed. So I think maybe if we raise enough money from that tourist site, government should be able to develop that site or that village so that more tourists can come there and visit. And also, when I entered there, it's like there is no place of recreation. You just go and see the falls, then come back. And sometimes a place to sit is like difficult to find. You just hang around, just standing. Even if you are tired, you'll be just roaming about. So I think if we create, let's say, facilities where you can sit and enjoy our recreational facility, that one will benefit us.
I have visited the Legon farms, and on our way there, I got to know that it had rained recently, and the roads there were very muddy. So it made it very difficult for us to go. So I think the roads leading to most of our tourist sites should be tarred to make it easier for tourists to access those places.
Do you think as a board in Ghana, they have really done well as a tourism board?
From my opinion, no. Because if they had really done it, most roads leading, as my brother said, leading to the tourist sites is really bad. And if the board have noticed this and they've not done any measures taking place to build upon the roads, then I think they've not really done their best.
This year, the theme for the day is tourism and community development. What do you think the people in the community can also do to attract tourists?
I think the people in the communities where tourist sites are located should carry themselves up like with pride and dignity, that they shouldn't act like, excuse me to say, total villagers. So in a case where the tourists come, they should welcome them with open arms.
I also think most foreigners are interested in our culture, like the way we dance, the way we do our thing. So if at least they come to our tourist site, there should be something like cultural heritage there so that they can entertain them in a way.
Well, there should be something like cultural heritage there in order to entertain the tourists. And this brings us to the end of our discussion on World Tourism Day with the theme Tourism and Community Development.
And you can continue the discussion on Facebook. Let's check out some more stories that made local news.
Pupils of Bokrom DA Primary School in the Prestia, Huni Valley district of the Western region have been forced to study in churches instead of classrooms. Other pupils have totally abandoned education. This follows the destruction of the only available primary school in the community after a rainstorm 5 months ago. The Pharmaceutical Society of Ghana has partnered with 2 other companies to design a system that will help address fake drugs in the country. Speaking after a press conference on Thursday to mark World Pharmacist Day, the Executive Secretary of the Pharmaceutical Society of Ghana, Dennis Sena Ariti,
said the move is necessary following the increasing quantities of fake drugs on the Ghanaian market. He called on other drug manufacturing companies to come on board to fight the menace. The Accra Metropolitan Assembly has started clamping down on food joints which operate under poor sanitary conditions. This is another measure by the authority to rid the city of filth and curb spread of cholera. On Thursday, the AMA closed down some food joints in Osu and cautioned 2 others after it was discovered that the operation conditions of these restaurants were not up to standard. The authorities also closed down about 30 chop bars in Abubuloshi.
Now, over 1 million cards issued by the National Identification Authority will go waste. The authority plans to replace them with new smart cards that will have a lot more information and some cool features. So, what's up with that? Here are your views.
I think what they are about to do is a waste of money and also time. The money that they are about to use to buy or renew these cards can be used to develop our country. In the agricultural sector, we can use to buy fertilizers, tractors, and give them money to give the farmers money to enlarge their farms. And also I think that they can use this money to solve our energy crisis, our water crisis, and also the inflation rate that is going high.
I think the money could be used in the construction of roads with potholes that leads to accidents, and also the money can be used in building schools. Some students still sit under trees to learn, and the money could be used to build schools for them to learn.
I think this is a bad idea because Ghana is already in a financial problem. 115 million US dollars is a lot of money, and we are going to collect it from China. There are many things that we have to solve in our country. Let's say energy crisis, for instance, water, for instance, a lot of problems, and we've not solved those problems, and we are going to make new IDs. It's not good at all. And the IDs too, there's nothing for us to change about it. It's already good.
We are all a lot in this country, and the money that we are going to collect from China, we can use it to build schools. The villages lack a lot of schools, hospitals, so we can use it to build schools so that the students over there will benefit. And we can also use in the construction of roads.
I think it's a waste of time and money because the 150 million USA dollars can be used to build schools and hospitals, especially in rural areas, and they can also be used to repair our roads. I also think it's a waste of time because workers have to leave their work just to go and renew their cards.
Your views on WhatsApp. Still to come, how and why you should preserve your books after this.
When your kids need it all, there's only one drink that's got it. Cowbell Chocomalt. It's got the delicious taste of chocolate, the nourishment of malt, the all-round goodness of milk, and sugar for energy, all in one sachet. All I add is water, hot or cold. Now, that's real value. And that's real teamwork. Cowbell Chocomalt, 4-in-1 value with a great new taste.
And this is still the news program for teenagers. Remember, you can join us in the discussions on facebook.com/News Generation GH or on Twitter @NewsGenGH. Question: how do you keep your books? Well, in the digital age, most people are turning online to read and buy books, but young Ghanaians still believe in keeping their hard copies. So how do young people preserve their books? I went finding out. It's a free period this Friday afternoon for seniors at the Nima St. Kizito Junior High School in Accra. Young people here have decided to catch up on some reading and homework. 14-year-old Prince Ameko is one of them. He is very careful about how he keeps his books. He will be expected to hand them down to his younger siblings.
My book is Cultural Studies for Junior Secondary Schools, given to me by my brother.
Okay. So, what was the condition when you received the book?
He told me to keep it well because he also kept it well before he gave it to me, so that I can also give it to my junior sister so that she will use.
But so how are you making sure that you are keeping it well? Is there anything special you've done to the book?
Yes. I don't give it to my friends to use because they also tear it. And I want to cover it, but I've not get the right cover yet because I want to use a sellotape. So by Sunday, I'll buy it and cover it.
And he's not the only one.
I cover them with sellotape so that I'll prevent them from spoiling or getting damaged.
Only sellotape?
Yeah. I prefer sellotape because it makes the cover hard.
So you've covered yours with brown paper and sellotape?
Yeah.
Why brown paper and sellotape?
Because it will make the cover very, very hard and it will prevent it from spoiling.
But don't you want to see the pictures on the book?
It might distract me from learning.
But not everyone has siblings to hand down books to. Someone like 14-year-old Paul Alombila will not be expected to give his books away. But he is still careful about how he keeps them. He even has a formula for opening some of the old books.
I've used this for almost 3 years.
And what will happen to this book when you leave GHS?
I'll probably give it to someone who needs it.
Okay. You're going to give it to them like this?
Yes. This one, I took care of it. If you ask me for it, I show you a way to open it so that it will last.
You have your own way to open
Yes.
it. Show us your way to open it.
You hold the tip end of the book and you open it like this. Do not clutch it and like you're holding a hammer. That way it crumbles.
I see. Very interesting. The young people here all believe in preserving their books.
Books are, I would say, are my priority. I admire them a lot and I take them as friends. In the future, I might need the book for something.
Okay, guys, so for those of you who cover some of your books with brown paper, don't you want to see the pictures on the book?
That's the question I've also been asking myself, because since on the books they've drawn, there are pictures on the books, and still the teachers still recommend us to cover it. So whenever they ask us to cover, I sit down and think, what about the pictures and the school logo that they've printed on the book? Don't they want it to show?
I'm against the fact that we shouldn't cover our books, because it's not the pictures or the writings on the cover that is important. It's what is in the book that is really important.
If you use sellotape to cover the book, water cannot get into contact with the book. But if you use brown paper, if water pours on the brown paper, it can get contact to the book.
So guys, how would you feel though if there were no more physical books like this and everything was on a computer or something? How would that make you guys feel?
I'll feel bored because whenever I want to learn, I have to go to the internet before I can get the opportunity to learn. But when a book is with you, anytime that you are free, you can take it and just continue listening.
Yeah, I don't like it because I think not all parents who have money to allow their children to study on the internet.
I'll feel very bad because, for instance, when there is a light out and you don't also know how to use the computer, you couldn't have the idea or mind to go to the cafe or computer in your house.
I feel comfortable when I'm carrying books around than carrying a computer around.
Me, from my personal experience, anytime that I'm working on the computer, my mother always say, I'm playing game. But when I'm writing, she always say, oh, my boy is learning. But she never knew if I'm on the computer, I'm always learning. So if the government bring policy that we should all use computers and not exercise book, I will not like it.
So these are my books. I found them in my room somewhere, under some box or in some box somewhere. They both happen to be French books for some reason. I was looking for my social studies and cultural studies books, but I couldn't find them. But over the course of the years, I've gone back to try and reteach myself French. It hasn't worked out too well. But let's see. This one, my JHS 2 French book, I didn't cover it, but it still looks pretty good. That shows how much I used it. And this is my JHS 1 French book. I covered this one. Let's see how it looks. I'm gonna remove the sellotape. There. This is it. It looks pretty good, doesn't it? So I guess it's safe to say that, I mean, it's great to preserve books. It's important. You can always go back and look at your old exercise books and see what you've done. Sometimes as you grow and get on in years, you forget a lot of the things you learn in junior high school. But hey, don't take my word for it. We're off to see a librarian who will tell us more about the importance of preserving books. This is the children's section of the Nima Community Library. Kate Aqua is library assistant here and is responsible for ensuring the library is always in check, especially how the books are kept.
We use plastics because the books, we clean them once a week. With the plastic, you use face towel with key soap. You just squeeze the water out of it, then use it to rub the plastic and all that. At times, some write with their pens at the back of the plastic. But when you use the soap and the face towel, all the pen and everything goes out of it.
Why is it important that books are preserved?
Books are preserved so that we can have old books still in our systems. Because if we don't preserve the books and we turn the pages in anyhow, we saw the books, we deform the books within a short time, the book will get out of the system. And when we are looking out for the same book, we can't get.
Do you have any tips for children out there on how to preserve their books better, how to make their books last longer? For example, you showed us how to open it from the top.
How you turn the pages is one. We normally ask them to turn the pages from the top here, so that this side will not deform. The child should wash his or her hand before using the book, so that it will not soil the book with the dirt. And when the child is eating, the child should finish eating, wash the hands very well before touching the book. And book shouldn't be folded this way, backward way. Because when you you turn the book in a backward way, you are rather breaking the line.
So how do you make sure your books stand the test of time? Let us know on our Facebook wall. So what's up in the world of sports? Here's a roundup.
The Presidential Commission of Inquiry into Ghana's World Cup campaign has cleared coach Kwesi Appiah of blame following things that led to Ghana's poor showing at the just-ended World Cup in Brazil. Chairman of the Presidential Commission of Inquiry, Justice Senyo Jamafe, blamed the Stars' disappointing campaign on system failure, adding it will be unfair for the nation to blame Kwesi Appiah for the Stars' predicament. Swiss tennis ace Roger Federer is going to India later this year but won't have time to see the sights, so he has asked fans to help him. Federer tweeted, "India, here I come. Looking forward to playing 2 matches in Delhi on December 7 and 8. I am beyond excited." But he added, "I need some help from my supporters in India. I am only in Delhi for a few days, so can't visit all amazing places that I would like. Maybe you guys could help." Supporters got to work editing fascinating images on their computers of Federer washing clothes, playing drums, and preparing some Indian dishes. Rory McIlroy and Sergio Garcia lost on the final green as the United States edged into a 2.5 and 1.5 lead after the first session on the opening day of the Ryder Cup. The European pair fell to Phil Mickelson and Keegan Bradley after a riveting 4-ball match which saw them 1-up with 3 to play. Justin Rose and Henrik Stenson beat Bubba Watson and Webb Simpson 5-4, while Jordan Spieth and Patrick Reed defeated Ian Poulter and Steven Gausser by the same score.
Once again, world leaders have failed in committing themselves to addressing the climate change issue. The leaders held back on making new commitments to cut greenhouse gas emissions or to give significant climate finance to developing countries, leaving business, cities, and campaign groups to produce the real action on the climate. Environmentalists were disappointed by the outcome of the summit. Here's what the world is talking about.
Before world leaders met in New York for the climate change summit, thousands of people marched in major cities around the world, calling for urgent and reasonable efforts to address climate change. Protesters carried banners and flags, chanted slogans, and danced through the long processions to draw attention on the climate. The gathering of 120 world leaders, the first such meeting on climate change in 5 years, resulted in emotional speeches, including that of actor and UN ambassador Leonardo DiCaprio.
Now must be our moment for action. We need to put a price tag on carbon emissions and eliminate government subsidies for oil, coal, and gas companies. We need to end the free ride that industrial polluters have been given in the name of a free market economy. They do not deserve our tax dollars. They deserve our scrutiny, for the economy itself will die if our ecosystems collapse. The good news is that renewable energy is not only achievable, but good economic policy. This is not a partisan debate, it is a human one. Clean air and a livable climate are inalienable human rights. And solving this crisis is not a question of politics, it is a question of our own survival.
Typical of most climate change summits, some world leaders boasted about measures they had taken to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. President Obama, for instance, said the US had done more under his presidency to cut carbon pollution than any other country, and volunteered to help lead the international community to an agreement to fight climate change.
Let me be honest, none of this is without controversy. In each of our countries, there are interests that will be resistant to action. And in each country, there is a suspicion that if we act and other countries don't, that we will be at an economic disadvantage. But we have to lead. That is what the United Nations and this General Assembly is about.
Widow of Nelson Mandela, Gracia Machel, did not hide her disappointment when she said world leaders had failed to rise to the challenge of climate change. She noted the leaders had failed to offer an adequate response to the hundreds of thousands of people who hit the streets to demand action on the environment, and the millions in poor countries who will suffer its effects. Addressing the summit, a hopeful UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon told leaders they were not there just to talk, but rather to make history, which sadly never was. Although a binding agreement on cutting down emissions was not achieved, some countries made new commitments to the Green Climate Fund, which was $2.3 billion, way below the $15 billion promised. The Green Climate Fund was founded in 2010 with the aim of raising $100 billion to help poor countries limit their greenhouse gas emissions and to adapt to the effects of climate change. According to scientists, Africa, Asia, and Latin America will be the worst affected by climate change. This will include frequent wildfires, longer periods of drought in some regions, and an increase in the number and intensity of tropical storms.
Let's now take a quick trip around the world. Sierra Leone's president, Ernest Koroma, has widened the quarantine on his country. The close-off is to include another 1 million people in an attempt to curb the spread of Ebola. The northern districts of Port Loko and Bombali and Moyamba in the south have been sealed off. Nearly 600 people have died from the virus in Sierra Leone. Who lost relatives when a church hostel in Lagos collapsed have told the BBC they intend to sue Nigerian evangelist TB Joshua. The two men, who both lost sisters in the collapse, are appealing for more families to come together in bringing a case against the preacher. At least 115 people, including 84 South Africans, died when the multi-story building fell down earlier this month. On Sunday, TB Joshua announced plans to travel to South Africa to visit the families of the deceased. 542 caped crusaders got together to break the world record for the largest gathering of people dressed as Batman, the Canadian city of Calgary. The costumes passed inspections by a Guinness World Records representative who saw them standing in the same place for 5 minutes. India is celebrating a successful mission to Mars. They are the only country ever to reach the red planet on their first attempt. The spacecraft took 10 months to get there and cost $75 million, making it one of the cheapest space missions ever. Many children in India are reported to have been inspired, saying they will study engineering and maths so they can become astronauts in future. So that's it for this edition of News Generation. Thank you so much for staying with us. Remember, you can catch us on social media. We're on facebook.com/NewsGenerationGH or on Twitter @NewsGenGH. Until next time, have a good day and take care. News Generation, supported by
Cowbell with Vitarid.